Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Chaitni and I am a health coach and a nutritionist. Today's video is dedicated to eating slowly. So it's something that sounds easy to do, but when you actually implement it, it does take some work. There is some strategy, some thinking that's involved. So I'm here to make it a little bit easy for you and give you some tips on how you can start to eat a little bit slowly. I'll be talking about the benefits of eating slowly because there are quite a few. And then the second half of the video, I will be covering the strategies that I personally use when I switch from just eating mindlessly to starting to eat very slowly, taking up at least 20 minutes. So it's not something that you have to do. Just start with baby steps and take whatever resonates with you or whatever intrigues you and test it out. Okay, so what are the benefits of eating slowly? One of the biggest ones is better digestion. When you eat slowly and you're chewing more, your stomach has to do less of the work of breaking down the food. What that helps you with is, there'll be less bloating, less feeling of, gassy or feeling really full, really uncomfortable. You tend to feel a lot lighter when you've eaten slowly and taken your time to actually enjoy your food. Number two, the second benefit is you start to eat and enjoy what you're eating. You're not just eating because it's lunchtime and you need to eat your food. No, this becomes a more mindful process where you enjoy and involve your senses, the taste, the texture, the smell, all of it. And that helps you be present and really be grateful for the food that you're eating. So it's all about mindful eating. And then number three is, believe it or not, eating slowly has a huge impact on weight balance. So when you start to take about 15 to 20 minutes to eat your meal, you are really conscious of how much you're eating and you limit overeating, and that is in turn what helps you take in fewer calories and what helps you with weight balance. Typically, think about it, what is your average meal time? I just want you to time yourself. If you're watching this video, do it now or the next time you have a proper meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I just want you to time yourself. More than likely, you are not even hitting 5 minutes. You're probably just inhaling your food instead of eating your food. And that's okay. Many of us do that. We have busy lives and food really just becomes something else that needs to be checked off the list or something else that's just needed to keep going. So even if it's 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, there's no shame, there's no judgment, there's just observation. And when you hit those 5 minutes, what you will realize is it's very easy to feel hungry after those 5 minutes, maybe in the next hour or even the next 30 or 40 minutes, because there's always a delay between your gut and your brain. By the time you're full, it takes 20 minutes for your brain to register that, okay, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. So when you eat slowly, that message starts going up to your brain and saying that, okay, this person is full, we don't need to eat anymore. But when you eat really quickly, that registration doesn't happen because your brain and your gut don't have those 20 minutes. There is a lag time there, which hasn't happened. So when you eat quickly, you tend to eat more and not really register that you're not hungry anymore. You keep thinking that you're under this illusion that you're still hungry and you still need to have more. You tend to have cravings, and like I said, you tend to put in more calories than you actually need or want. So those are the three big benefits of eating slowly. I'm going to go into some tactics that can actually help you start to eat slowly. Okay, this is literally what I do. What I'm about to share is literally what I do when I have lunch or dinner. I can't do it every single time because, life, but majority of the time I try to stick to this. So one of the first things that I do is I look at the clock and I keep an eye on the clock. And I'm not constantly having a bite and looking at the clock. That's just annoying and it's not practical. But when I start to eat, I just take a quick peek at when I'm starting. And that way I know, okay, 15 minutes from this time or 20 minutes from this time my finish time will be this. So it helps me gauge how much time I have. And, then every few minutes or every 5 minutes or so, or whenever I feel like it, I just take another peek at the clock. So I know, how much more time I have left. Now, again, this is not very regimented. You do it as you wish. Maybe you just look up a couple of times and that is enough for you to figure out how long you're taking and how long you should be taking. But it's important to have that time management there, because if you are not aware of when you're starting and when you're ending, there's no way that you can make changes to your meal times, the duration of your meal times. So initially, yeah, it's tedious. Initially, yes, it's kind of annoying. But once you get the hang of it, you will quickly realize whether you're taking 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or today, you've just had your food within 5 minutes. But start that slowly, look at that clock, look at it a few times, and always gauge, okay, if I've started at 12:50, then I know that 1:10 is my ideal time, or maybe it's 1:05, or maybe it's just 1 p.m. Whatever it is, we all have our different goals. But look at that clock, keep an eye on that clock. Number 2, this is going to sound funny to some of you, but what I do is I chew my food 20 times. I actually count to 20 in my head. So I might say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and I that's what I do. And it doesn't take away from actually enjoying the food. For me, it helps me just fully focus on what I'm eating, how it tastes, what's the texture like, and how long I'm taking. Now, this is not for everybody, because again, it can seem like it's a lot and it could just seem annoying to some people, and I understand that. So if this is not for you, that's okay. But if you're a counter like me, I like to count a lot, then it's something that you can put into practice, where when you count for about 20 chews and then you swallow. And whatever bite you take, by the time you're done counting to 20, there's not going to be much left, so it will be really easy to just digest it. But maybe 20 is not the number you want to start with. Maybe you just start with 5, and that's okay. Or maybe you start with 10. Just pick a number that you're comfortable with if this is something that you think you want to try. Something else that I do, even if I'm in public in a social setting or at home by myself or with family, is I say a quick prayer of thanks. It's something that I've said for years, and I make sure that it's so discreet that usually when I'm out with friends or family, they have no idea that I've said a quick prayer and then started my meal. But it's something that's very important to me, so I do it. But what that does is it sets the intention. I haven't just come running out of the bedroom because I've finished my phone call or my call with the client, and I'm ravenous and I'm really hungry, and I'm going to just start stuffing my face. Or I skipped an evening meal or an evening snack, and now I'm at dinner and I can't see anything except the food in front of me, and I'm just going to dig in, and a lot of times that just leads to overeating. So for me, saying my prayers or giving thanks is my way of just aligning, and my way of setting the intention and telling myself that, okay, this is really about eating slowly. This is about being grateful for the food that's on your plate, because not everybody is this privileged. And this is about taking the time to eat and actually enjoy the Lord's bounty, or if you don't believe in the Lord, the universe's bounty. So this is your time with your food, and you get to make the most of it. So that's why this is something that's really important to me. Now, again, if you don't believe in a higher power, that's okay. Maybe you just say one nice thing about the food that's in front of you. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the smell, maybe it's the presentation. But just pause. The goal here is to pause and appreciate what is in front of you. Because without that appreciation, it's really easy to take food for granted. And what that does is a lot of times, eventually, you end up taking your relationship with food for granted. So that is number 3. That is something that I do, is I always give thanks before a meal. Okay, number 4 is I try to not keep my phone on the table. Even when I go out, especially when I'm home, the phone does not belong on the dining table or anywhere near me when I'm having my meal. So it's either just somewhere far off, or it's in the bedroom, or it's in my purse if I'm outside. But I try not to keep it there unless, of course, I know somebody's going to need me and, there is an important call, like especially, moms or dads. I get it. You need to have your phone with you because your kids might need to reach you. I get it, but put it face down. It doesn't need to be face up because that's a temptation. That phone is very, very tempting, and it's obviously takes the focus away from food, and it gets very easy to start multitasking. You're just busy scrolling, or you're reading your work emails, or you're checking your messages, and you have no idea how much you've eaten, what you've eaten, and whether you've actually enjoyed what you've eaten. So I try to keep that phone away as far away as possible. The next thing that I do is I utilize my dining table. So I try not to eat in front of the TV. Just like I said, I don't like to have the phone near me either. And even if I'm alone, I sit at the dining table because those 20 minutes, those 15 minutes are between my food and me. I don't want to be distracted by anything else, and I want to make sure that I'm fully immersed in this experience and I'm actually enjoying what I'm eating. So, and it's one of the ways to ensure that I will eat slowly, because I know if I'm watching something, I am very distracted and I'm not really paying attention to how quickly or slowly I'm eating, or even how much I'm eating. So I like to enjoy my meal at the dining table. Once in a while, or I wouldn't even say once in a while, maybe once a week or so, yes, I do watch something on my phone, or I watch something on TV. If the TV isn't available, then yes, I'm watching it on my phone. And that's okay. We're not robots. We're not here to make our lives so restrictive that we hate what we become or the lives that we live. So sometimes, yes, absolutely, I will watch and I will eat because there is some kind of satisfaction in that. But majority of the time, I try not to do that for obvious reasons. Something else that helps me eat slowly is I try not to eat when I'm ravenous or hungry. I mean, I will eat them, but I try not to get to that point. So what that means is not skipping meals or not eating enough. Or just having a meal at odd hours of the day, not sticking to your routine. All of that can lead to you feeling so hungry that all you want to do is make sure that you're satisfying your appetite. And I try not to do that. I want to actually enjoy my food. I want to experience it. So I try to stick to a routine, whether it's having a little bit of breakfast or having lunch when lunch is meant to be had, or, having dinner when it's not too late. These are all things that help me regulate my appetite, which then in turn also helps me eat slowly. So skipping those meals, not eating enough food, or having food that's not filling, that is all going to lead to possibly you being extremely hungry, even hangry, to the point where you're not actually able to eat slowly because you only have one thing on your mind, and that is food, food, food. So try not to skip your meals. The next thing that actually helps me chew slowly is paying attention to what I'm eating. So obviously, if you're gonna have cake, it gets very hard to eat slowly. Depending on your lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever you're eating, at times it's hard to chew the food. Like if it's soup, you're not gonna be able to chew it. But a lot of times what I like to eat are vegetables. I like to add lentils and beans to my diet, and I like to add fruits. So even if you're like me and eat pretty much an Indian cuisine for most of your meals, that's totally possible. You have your rice, or you have your dal or lentils, beans, you have your salad, you have your chapati or roti, and you have your sabzi or the vegetable. You can do it. It's totally, totally, totally doable. Even if you're having pasta and there aren't any veggies or lentils, you can actually eat slowly and you can chew the food slowly. But it gets easier when you add the veggies, when you add the fruits, when you add the lentils and beans, and when you add these things that will force you to eat slowly. So, and I do enjoy it. It's not like I'm eating asparagus because I should be eating asparagus, but I actually enjoy asparagus. So when you add these veggies, fruits, and all these other items, make sure you're adding stuff that you enjoy. Don't do it because you should do it, because that's when it gets much harder to stick to a habit. So having those kind of foods can make a huge difference in how quickly or slowly we're eating. And then lastly, one of the things that I do is every 3 or 4 bites, especially if I've been eating quickly, I get tired. I'm like, Okay, I just had a few bites very quickly in a row and I want to slow down. But even if that's not the case, I take a deep breath like I just showed you on camera. You don't have to keep eating. You can take a pause, even if you're watching a show and eating at the same time. You can just put your plate down and watch that show for maybe a few minutes and then get back to your plate. So it's doable. You just have to remember to just stop. And taking that deep breath is not even 5 seconds. You definitely have 5 seconds to spare in between your bites. So I do take a deep breath. Again, it helps me realign because it reminds me, okay, have I been eating too fast? Do I need to slow down? Or helps me gauge how much more time I have left. So all of those things. It's just a second to recalibrate. And it doesn't even have to be that complex. It's just about taking a deep breath, taking a break, and then getting back to the food. So these are all tips that I share that I personally use that have really helped me to eat slowly. I was one of those people who was always go, 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 and I could finish a meal in 5 minutes. The first time that I recorded myself, I was like, yeah, I'm sure I take 10 minutes. And I was flabbergasted because I barely made it to 5 minutes. I think I was at 3 minutes. And I had sufficient food on my plate, so it wasn't like I wasn't eating anything. So it's taken some time to figure out what works for me and how I can eat slowly. But every single meal, it's a reminder. It's not at the back of my mind, but it's foremost and at the front that, okay, I want to eat slowly. This is something that I enjoy. I enjoy just sparing 15 minutes if I don't have 20 or even 10 minutes and not rushing through my meal, because it's that one time in the day or twice in a day where I can just slow down a little bit and do something for myself. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of this. These are very practical tips. What I would ask you to do is just pick one, and if nothing else, just observe your time, your meal time, and go from there and see what works for you. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to keep in touch or if you want more information and more wellness tips, then please check the description. That's where you will find how to keep in touch with me and how to keep listening to these videos. Thanks so much. Bye.